All right, welcome to Real Estate Strategies with Remax Hallmark. And today we have a fantastic treat because we're not only going to be learning about real estate as a business, we are going to be learning about real estate investing. And I'm speaking with Jelani Smith, one of our Remax Hallmarkers, who has joined us. And we're going to be talking about how he has built not only his real estate business, but also his real estate investment portfolio and how some of his advice will be able to help you build wealth. Jelani, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Johnder. Really looking forward to this podcast.
Absolutely. It's our honor and pleasure. So, Jelani, you started in real estate as a licensed real estate professional 18.
That's correct.
And one of my first interactions with you was you actually published a blog. So today I want to share your story about how you got into personal finance, then real estate, how you built up your portfolio. So Jelani, let's go way back. Did you get into real estate investment first? Did you get into the real estate business first? How did you get started in sort of building your wealth in real estate?
Definitely. So it goes all the way back to my third year of university, which is around 2014, 2015. I was just having a conversation with my mom. My mom's always been big on real estate investing, kind of growing their wealth, investing in stocks and etc. So we always had these candid conversations. So my mom's like, you should start looking to invest into real estate, see if there's any opportunities out there. Because at that time I was working at the bank, and I did have quite a few savings. I was like, sure, like that's a pretty good idea. So I started the hunt, and I did come across a townhome, a pre-construction townhome in Scarborough that was going to close just after I graduated university. This is when I started working my full-time job. At the time, the deposit is only $50,000, which I had in savings. So I'm like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. So I decided to just pull the trigger, not pull the gun. I decided to pull the trigger and make the deposit on my very first property, which is a townhome in Scarborough, purchased for $526,000. So that's kind of how I started into real estate investing. I've always had a passion for investing into real estate, kind of growing my investments, whether through real estate, through stock trading, and etc. So from that one property alone, I kind of developed a passion for investing into real estate. So that's kind of what inspired me to get my real estate license and kind of help others, especially millennials, do the same to go and climb up on the property ladder.
All right, so that takes us to, of course, you eventually get licensed, but you know what, there are going to be listeners and watchers of our show here.
Yeah.
And they're either in university, they're just starting out. $50,000, even in today's dollars. I mean, obviously, you're still a young man, but in today's dollars, that's quite a bit to save up. So we're gonna pick at the details a bit.
For sure.
As a university student, and yes, you did work at the bank. How did you manage to save $50,000 for your first property?
Definitely. So I think one of the biggest things, now that I look back at it, I'm really grateful I made this decision. One of the biggest things was I decided to stay at home during university as opposed to paying rent or living on campus. It's as you know, like living on campus is not cheap, right? And of course, the home cooked meals, nothing beats that. So I decided to stay at home. So that alone obviously saved me a lot of money. I went to UTSC, University of Toronto, Scarborough campus. It was just a 10-minute bus ride from my parents' house. So I didn't need to buy a car or whatsoever. I just shared the car with my parents if I needed a ride. So from the cost perspective, try to keep my costs as low as possible. And also try to save at least 50% of my income and use that all towards stock trading, more particularly options trading. So that's what I was really heavily specializing or focusing on at that time. And because of options trading, I was able to save up enough for a 20% down payment on my very first property. So within a year and a half of options trading, I was able to save up 20% down payment. And that's what gave me the opportunity to purchase my very first home.
Right. So you didn't do something that, traditionally, somebody would work and just
Definitely
get a job, get paid, get whatever income, but you were financially savvy in the sense that you looked at it strategically as a student, you cut and minimized your expenses.
Exactly.
You didn't spend on consumption. You didn't go out and buy like a brand new car. You didn't go out and rent your place. Instead, you used the money that you saved from income from work and all that.
Exactly.
And you even traded stocks to help you build up your basically that initial down payment. So
definitely.
So Jelani,
Also, I was going to say, I didn't buy my first car until 2 years after home ownership. So I was always making sure everything makes sense from a numbers perspective. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to not just real estate investing or like kind of saving for the future, saving for a trip or education and etc.
Right. So the learning point here for those of you who are tuned in is instead of focusing on something that depreciates obviously you need a car, you need transportation. But what Jelani did was he literally looked at, how do I build wealth and how do I focus on generating, wealth and income versus, if I buy a car, that's just going to be draining money out of my pocket and I'm not getting anything back in return to that. So now you've bought your first place. It closed after you finished your schooling. What
That's
happened?
correct.
What happened next?
Yeah, so I purchased my first place in January 2016. The closing was in August of 2017. So when I purchased in January 2016, after upgrades and etc., the purchase price was $526,000. Fast forward to August 2017, the property is appraised at $680,000. So that's just under $200,000 appreciation in a matter of 1.5 years, basically, right? So from that alone, I didn't refinance at that time. Now looking back, I wish I did refinance, take the equity out and purchase another property, right? But I was very conservative, right? I was very new to this. However, I would say about 3 or 4 years later, I decided to make the decision to refinance the property at the higher valuation, take the equity out, and I use that towards purchasing a property that like a fixer-upper essentially.
Mm-hmm. And then you got in. Yeah.
Exactly. The main reason why I focus on fixer-uppers, more particularly those that have at least 35 to 45% upside after renovations.
Yes.
I focus on those type of properties because it gives me the opportunity to refinance the equity back out. I use that towards other investment opportunities. And most importantly, I made sure these properties would be like positive cash flow or break even after refinancing the money out. So pretty much, especially in Toronto, that's usually only doable if you purchase a property where you could convert into a duplex or a triplex to justify for the higher carrying costs. So that's essentially what I did. And with that strategy alone, I was able to build a portfolio of several properties across the Toronto region.
All right, there you go. So then basically you knew exactly what you wanted to do, or you were very intentional about it, and you managed your finances properly. So take us at what point did you get your real estate license, and then what did you do when you got started in real estate trading?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go back to like the very beginning of my career. I started working at BMO start working at the bank in 2013. In 2018, I decided to leave the bank and start just because it wasn't the right fit for me, the corporate lifestyle, 9 to 5. I particularly wanted to get into sales, more particularly into real estate sales. So I do enjoy the people interaction. I do enjoy helping out other families, individuals, investors, and etc. When I left the bank in 2018, I decided to sell. I'm also a huge car guy. I decided to sell Hondas. So I was working at a car dealership. While I was getting my real estate license, when I got my real estate license, I was working at Honda and selling cars at the same time. There's a period of time where I was selling cars and houses, the two most expensive assets that most people purchase. However, in the first 8 months of my real estate career, I closed about 39 deals. 36 of them were leases, and the other 3 were purchases, which is pretty huge for someone who's like new to the industry. So it came to the point where my business was growing consistently. I was pretty much doubling it like almost every other 6 months. So that's why I decided to leave Honda and focus on my real estate career full time. Within the first 2 years, my business was consistently doubling each year. And I've been fortunate enough to receive the Chairman's Club Award 3 times. And within 2 years of joining Remax, I also got the Hall of Fame Award too as well. So business has been pretty good, and I think one of the biggest things was being consistent and having a process in place. I think those 2 things really help you grow your business, whether it's in real estate, car sales, or any particular type of business, essentially.
Yeah, because sales is, I mean, if you have sales as a skill that's inherent to you or something that you build up, it's pretty
Definitely.
much transferable because you're looking after people's needs and being able to service them. So, I mean, for those of you who are not as in tune with real estate industry awards lingo, and if you decide to Google it, you'll realize what kind of performance Jelani has. But we're going to shift the focus in terms of what did you do to be able to get those rewards? Because, I mean, for you to be able to earn these significant achievements within the Remax system, first of all, is a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. But Jelani, I mean, you're very straightforward, friendly, intelligent individual, and you knew sort of the path towards home ownership and towards building wealth and investments. So let's ask this question. What did you do to be able to generate that kind of success early on in your real estate career? Because we have some who are in tune with our show who are real estate agents looking to build up their business. What was it about your approach to the real estate business helped you achieve that at such a young age and at such a quick amount of time?
I would say there's several factors, but I would say one of them was the first-hand experience because I purchased my very first property when at the age of 21. So I've already been through the process through pre-construction or resale and etc. So that also gave me the advantage of pretty much educating clients. I didn't just learn about real estate through the online courses or off a book or videos. I've also learned it through first-hand experience, and I think that alone is very valuable as well. So in addition, I was also constantly educating clients, or like pretty much documenting each project I've done, posted the videos on social media. I think the first-hand experience and educating clients, those two factors have definitely helped me grow my business as well. Because real estate is not just about sales, it's also about educating clients, kind of guiding them through the process, right? From the pre-approval all the way to looking for the properties, see what works best for the criteria, and then kind of going all the way to the closing, right? So I think those are some of the factors that really helped me grow my business as well.
That's a
And
great, yeah.
yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Oh, no, I'm saying, and of course, because of clients having such a good experience, they've also provided referrals, kind of referred to their friends and family. So that's also really a good source of growing the business as well.
And that's what I was going to exactly ask next is how did you scale it and how did you grow it?
Exactly.
Being knowledgeable, if you're taking notes, being knowledgeable, knowing about real estate, Jelani being invested in real estate at such a young age, then of course being able to provide that service as an extension to what he already does.
Exactly.
And then with the experience of your clients who are very satisfied, they started telling everybody about you. Jelani, I mean, we're now in 2015, right? We're now in 2025. Well, I'm 10 years rewind. Like, imagine that. Imagine that.
Exactly.
We're now in 2025. The market conditions for real estate are a bit different, a bit challenging. There are students that are your age now that you got in your journey went a bit differently, and there's certain challenges in terms of buying real estate now. And so, no doubt you are helping whether lease or buy, younger clients, the next generation of homeowners. For somebody who is looking to get into real estate home ownership, whether they're looking to buy their first home or they're living at home and they want their first investment to generate cash flow, what is your advice? Maybe they don't understand what trading options is, but let's take it apart. And somebody today who's 2021 wants to get into real estate ownership, what would your step-by-step process be for them?
Definitely. So I say from the very beginning, if you're looking at home ownership, obviously you start working on saving for the down payment and the closing costs. So I'll say the easiest way to start saving up is set up an automatic contribution towards your tax-free savings account or your first time home buyer savings account. You can set up an automatic contribution with most financial institutions. It could be as simple as $500 per month or $250 per month, because over time that will build up, especially if it doesn't have to be options trading. Obviously, the returns can be lucrative with options trading, but you can also lose all of it, right? So it could be very risky. It's a high risk, high reward. So if you want to keep it simple, you can invest that into mutual funds or ETFs, $500 per month, $250 per month, whichever number you'd be comfortable with. Over time, that will build up, and eventually it could be enough for a down payment. Let's say 5 years down the road, once you have accumulated enough for a down payment, if you're looking for a property for positive cash flows per se, I do highly recommend purchasing a bungalow, particularly those that are built in the 1950s, 1960s. The main reason is because those usually do have separate side door entrances. So you do have the opportunity to convert it into 2 units. So you can get that dual rental income, which will cover your carrying costs and potentially have some positive cash flow. So that's usually the best way to get into the market. And of course, if the home has a basement apartment, it also does benefit your how much mortgage you could qualify for as well. So that's one strategy if you're looking at it from a cash flow perspective. If you look at it from the lenses of you living in the property, then there's obviously different types of lifestyles. There's some people that might want to live in the downtown core. Then we could look into a condo or in a townhome, whichever makes sense within the budget price point. If you're living in the property, then it's more of a lifestyle type of choice. But if you look at it from an investment standpoint, if you want to maximize your cash flow, if you're comfortable with it, it's worth it to see if you could get a bungalow within the price point that you're approved within.
So even today, I mean, being 2025, it is possible to find these opportunities. And I mean, I know prices have gone up and down, and we've gone through the pandemic period, we've gone through low interest rates, high interest rates, and all of that sort of thing. But you do feel confident, and you do believe that somebody here starting out in real estate, it's not impossible for them to get into the market.
100%. And I would say, I mean, to be quite frank, obviously the market has changed compared to 10 years ago. The reality is Toronto has become more expensive. So typically speaking, I would say like other areas of GTA, for example, Durham region, Simcoe, like for example, in Durham, let's say Oshawa, for example, you could get a legal turnkey duplex within $750,000 in today's market. And that would be positive cash flow with 20% down. So there are other opportunities. Say if you're priced off Toronto, there's other regions that we could look at.
Yeah, so the prices might be different, the market conditions might be different, but the habits and the mindset and the intentions of home ownership remain the same. And it's
Exactly.
still something that you feel is good at building wealth and is lucrative. Because if you think about it, if you're paying the rent, you're still paying somebody's rent no matter what. Wouldn't you agree, Jelani? So, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to rent,
Yeah.
but part of your eventual path into home ownership. So what are the challenges?
Sir, to add to that,
Sure,
actually,
please.
I've had some clients who've purchased, let's say, an hour away from the city.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily want to live in that location, so they
Right.
rent that out top to bottom, and they rent something in the downtown core.
Exactly.
So I've seen some people leverage on that, right? So if you're looking for cash flow, but don't want to necessarily live in there, then that's a strategy that could be
So
possible.
coming up with creative solutions.
Exactly.
And being able to work out your lifestyle needs in order for you to be able to meet that goal, if your goal is to build wealth in real estate, right? So Jelani, you've been in the real estate business for 8 years now, and of course I see you in this business for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
What is your advice to real estate agents who are, let's say they're starting today in this current economic climate and in this present market conditions? You've seen the number of real estate agents come and, go up and down in numbers. You've seen how affordability has changed. If you were restarting today, what would you do anything differently than how you started your real estate business? How would you gain those first, your few fans that become your clients who become advocates for you? Like, what would you do if you started again?
Definitely. So I'll say the biggest recommendation I have to new realtors is focus on leases. I do find a mistake. A lot of new realtors trying to focus on like the big buck listings, $1 million buyer clients, etc. But I'll say one of the main core focus should be on leases, because eventually those lease clients will eventually buy down the road. And additionally, it trains you to draft up paperwork, submit offers, advocating for your clients, send a list of comparables. So I think leases is a really great way to kind of get your foot into the market and give you some experience on how to negotiate offers for your clients, most importantly. Secondly, I would say having a process in place. I would say the first couple of years of my first couple of years being in this career, I did go through some growth pains. I think that could have been mitigated through having a process in place, because it makes it easier to kind of communicate with clients, having the paperwork ready, and etc. So to having the process in place really does save a lot of time, as opposed to like many late nights trying to get all the offer paperwork ready, and etc. So I'll say those two things are very crucial. And in terms of lead generation, that's also a very important one. I'll say the best, in my opinion, of all the lead generations I've been doing, the best one has been through social media. I find that organic content does generate the highest quality leads, in my opinion, just speaking from personal experience. I do find that buyers or sellers, especially millennials, they like to kind of relate to you on a personal level, as opposed to seeing an ad online or on a billboard and etc. So I'll say those are the three most important components that I would implement if I were just starting my real estate career today.
Which is very interesting because Jelani, you started with leases, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy to do
Yeah.
36 leases
Yeah.
in a year. And
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
you, the amount of paperwork that's involved sometimes is more than actually writing up a draft,
Yeah.
like drafting an agreement for purchasing a home. The patience that's involved in being able to find a place, especially when things get competitive, and also the commission that's associated with it. Like you have to do a very high volume, but
Exactly.
it makes logical sense that if you start with leases, you're building up the number of clients that take you on. And some agents decide, oh, they're too busy for leases. You have an eventual home buyer, a
Yeah.
homeowner down the road as well.
Yeah.
And it surprises me too that, I mean, when it comes to systems, it's just the amount of knowledge and requirements to be able to generate the system and to,
Yeah.
to hold it practice,
For sure.
like to practice with it helps you be consistent. So this is all great advice. So Jelani, you also right now you run a team as well, and
That's
so you
correct.
scaled your business now to the
That's
point
correct.
that you have a team. Any advice for individual agents? At what point, like some real estate agents, let's face it, are ambitious and they want to start a team before they've got A, B, C in place. So before you started and before you became a team, what sort of had to be there in your business? At which point you decided, you know what, now it's time for me to grow and have additional team members with me.
Definitely. I would say I decided to start a team when I was consistently hitting the Chairman's Club award each year. So I was like, okay, like my business has been scaling, and there's only so many places I could be at, right? There's only one. So that's why I decided to kind of create a team to make sure that my clients are getting the services. Because obviously, if you have a lot of clients on the plate, then there's only so much. I think being spread too thin does impact the client experience. So the main purpose of creating the team is to ensure the client experience remains 10 out of 10 and kind of give each individual team member a specific role. So for example, I have one team member who mainly does the buyers and sellers, and the other team member mainly does all the paperwork and the lease clients too. So I think having those individual specialized roles actually has helped us continue growing on business, especially as you know, the market has been slower the past 2 years, but we still been consistently hitting the ranks. I think having a team really does help you improve the client experience, and having those processes in place really does help you make sure your business does stay stable as well.
Right. So lead with income, because I mean, unless you're generating income, there's no need to add additional team members
Exactly.
because you wouldn't be able to shift
Exactly.
any of your business to them. And then, of course, being consistent with having the ability to scale your processes and having team members to buy into your philosophy, right? Because
Exactly.
I know both of your team members, and they do amazingly well,
Yeah.
and you guys run a great team culture.
Yeah, thank you.
Jelani, as we finish off, thank you so much for giving us this insight into, number one, getting into home ownership as an end user or as an investor, and then number two, being able to build a successful real estate from such a young age and being able to share some advice with that. What final pieces of advice would you give to somebody, since we're catering to two audiences today, what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who wants to get into home ownership investing and then getting started with that? And then also, what piece of advice would you give to a real estate agent right now who might need that extra inspiration because of the challenges of this market?
Definitely. I'll start with the homeowners one. So I would say the main piece of advice I'll give to future homeowners is always do your own research. I've seen it happen way too many times when, especially first-time home buyers, right? They kind of take too many different people's opinions, and a lot of times some of those opinions may be incorrect, right? And I speak of this from personal experience too. To start, just a quick example. Technically my very first pre-construction purchase was a condo in Toronto, 1 bedroom plus den with parking. Purchased that for $230,000. But I backed all of it because people were saying, "Oh, you're overpaying for a condo. You shouldn't pay that much for a property in Toronto. You should just get a house instead." However, looking back at it, obviously that condo is worth $600,000, right? So that was obviously a mistake I made, not doing my own research. Also, another piece of advice is just have a process in place, have a plan ready. Everyone's situation is different. It may take you 1 year to purchase a home. It may take you 5 years to purchase a home, as long as you have a plan in place. And for new realtors, similar thing. I would say focus on the leases. So I'll say focus on leases, because again, those lease clients will eventually become buyer clients, and it really gives you good experience in terms of negotiating for your clients, advocating for them, and obviously practice on the paperwork aspect. it should come to a point where you could do the paperwork within 10, 15 minutes and send it to your clients on DocuSign, right? So I think leases is really good. It's a really good way to kind of get started into the industry as well.
There you go. So very, very smart words of advice. Being able to do your research, be independent. Obviously, you have to listen to somebody like Jelani or your real estate professional because they've got insight, but just don't rely on just what you hear or what everybody's saying. You've got to also fact check it. And then the second time you said it in terms of leases, don't turn down opportunities because you never know who you're helping out today that's renting and may end up buying that home. So thank you so much, Jelani, for joining us on Real Estate Strategies with Remax Hallmark. For those of you're watching this or you're listening on a podcast, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, leave your comments. If you're watching this on a platform that allows you to leave comments, make sure you like and make sure you stay tuned for future episodes. Thanks, Jelani. Thanks, everybody else, for joining us as well.
Thank you, Johnder.
Our pleasure.